Hello, everybody. Good evening to our latest video essay sort of feature of IndiCast. And today I am here to talk to you about something that I've been pondering about for a while. So, today we are here to talk about the inefficiencies that are coming in our economic systems because of the unimaginative nature of continuous implementation of direct benefit transfers policies across the nation. Now, don't get me wrong, I am in many ways a supporter of the scheme of direct benefit transfers as long as they are targeted and efficient in achieving the policy goals they seek and claim to achieve. Now, unfortunately, in the last decade and a half, or maybe last few decades or so, the overall policy apparatus in India has moved towards a system of just competitive populism spiraling. I have just some examples of existing DBT schemes across the country, and these are states which are ruled by various different political parties. There is the Ladli Behna Yojana in MP, which is known very popularly, the Ladki Behan Yojana in Maharashtra, the Gruha Lakshmi in Karnataka, and similar schemes exist in Odisha, Telangana, etc., etc. Now, my problem is not with the schemes in itself. It's the fact that over a period of time, in the policy implementation apparatus of the union and state governments, at some level, these schemes have become the only arsenal they have to target the larger public social services delivery. This cannot be the only goal that our state governments seek to achieve, especially in development of social infrastructure. Now, there is an old saying that has haunted economists for a very long time. It is that policy making, especially economic policy making, unfortunately, around the world is done by politicians, which is why it locks you into so many imprudent policy, problems. I just know the fact that recently in India in itself, we have incentivized welfare inflation to such a large extent that we have totally limited our choice functions of most political parties. Now, not all not all critics of DBT policies are anti-poor. We can also be pro-capacity, for example. The fact that DBT schemes are implemented regularly locks you into a regular revenue expenditure, which is eventually hard to come out of. The next political party will be locked into the same political choice function that you have given them. That your only two choices are limited to either increase the existing welfare expenditures that you're doing, or at least, at the very least, stay at it. The proof of the pudding is in the eating, so we will see how the agricultural sector in India over time has become so averse to reform that it is totally and fully a state to state market, in the sense that no farmer is able to operate without large scale subsidies and cash transfers from the state. No demand is created from outside of the state, so the procurement is done by the state. And eventually, this leads to a kind of risk aversion on part of both the policymaker and the farmer. And lately, India's agricultural market has painted itself into such a corner, and we see other arising issues out of that, like pollution in Delhi NCR, that oh, now the corner has to be moved out of, and the corner we have painted into cannot sustain because large scale agricultural reforms are the only answer. And it has reached a tipping point where we need to answer these questions to ourselves. The choice functions have become so limited across states, across parties, that this competitive populism spiral cannot continue. There are also examples of how many times it has been misused or dispersed inefficiently. In December 2025, our own CAG flagged various gaps in the disbursement of the scheme, saying that a lot of the cash transfers happened without verification. In the statement of the Economic Times that I'm quoting, it says that crores are flowing out without checks. Now imagine if we were spending crores and crores of rupees on improvement of municipal infrastructure, or improvement of urban land development, which lies in a very poor position today in most areas of the country. We see that in issues related to the drainage in monsoon. We saw that recently in the pollution woes that happened in Delhi NCR. And this is not criticism targeted to one political party in itself, because the critique is of the laziness in policy making. We also need to see that structural neglect of public health institutions and the state's physical infrastructure will eventually backfire. Now, the government of India, in that sense, deserves credit that at least some physical infrastructure work has happened on the part of the government of India. The development of national highways in various areas of the countries is undeniable, and to that extent, the government of India does deserve credit. And they have also tried to implement policies along the lines of Startup India, and we are now hosting the AI Action Summit later this month. But it is not nearly as enough at the scale at which we need to move. And yes, a lot of these competitive populism spiral locking policies are very much holding us back. So we need to stop policies that cause massive unconditional cash transfers and create a dependency that the states get trapped into. Now, look at it like this: once the state exchequer is stressed just on regular interest payments and pension payments and welfare payments, which revenue expenditures have locked them into due to the last few years of lazy policy making, there is no money left for roads, there is no money left for irrigation, there is no money left for agricultural reform, and there is no money left for other necessities which are important for our developmental goals. There is no money left for industrial parks, logistics hubs. What is our cold storage infrastructure like in India? What kind of AI data centers are we making? The answers will probably disappoint you, because we haven't achieved that kind of scale. And I mean, India deserves credit for asking the right questions to ourselves, but to the discredit of the lack of imagination of our lot of political class, the implementation gap is too large at the moment. See, I'm not a major critic of the DBT reform, is something that you need to understand. In targeted usage, it can have some advantages also. Like, for example, electricity distribution companies are often broke. And instead of waiving off the electricity bills for farmers, many economists have suggested that in this case, some kind of DBT could actually help. So, it is a useful tool, but it should never ever be the only tool that you are able to employ. Now, I think that in some states, it very likely has taken away a lot of money and resources from commercial activities that could have boosted income, output, and employment. And well, it doesn't take a genius to see that the income, output, and employment that could have been generated from these activities could have contributed to welfare anyway. So this attempt of this video essay is like a op-ed of sorts, a video op-ed, just to state that our political class needs a reform in its thinking, and DBT tools need to be reformed just to boost our ability to deploy more public policy tools usefully. We need to see how effectively are we deploying DBT tools, how related they are to our economic goals, and a lot of them unfortunately do need to get out of the way and stop locking in our economic potential. I mean, it's one of the first things we need to start doing before we even think about achieving goals about making our own large language models domestically, making our own large scale data centers, IT parks, or even reforming our agricultural sector. Policy risk aversion is painting us into a corner that only bold reforms can bring us out of. Thank you for watching. Please keep tuning in.